Invited in someone I just met last week, Steve Tokarz from Cantilever Investors. Now, I was at an event that Diane Durance invited me to. I had met her for lunch the previous week, and she said I needed to come check this out, and I did. It was in Ann Arbor, in a part of Ann Arbor that I don't get to very much, and certainly at a facility I was unaware of. That's where at my table I ran into Steve Tokarz, and I'll let him explain. Now, Diane was just explaining the ICOR Innovator project. You guys play a role in that. Why don't you talk about your role in that?
Yeah, sure, Mike. So a while ago, Mark Smith and I had bumped into each other after I had exited my last company. He was trying to scale up what we've kind of dubbed the startup factory. It's an early stage emerging technology enterprise. And the event you were at is just part of the collaboration we do with the universities. And like the National Science Foundation ICOR program, where you do this rigorous customer discovery, well, the people in that room were all these seasoned experts that were meant to plug in to these early stage companies so they get that guidance, they get that oversight, they get some of that industry knowledge as they're trying to figure out, is there a there? Where do I go with this?
Matt?
All right. So what is the startup factory, and what kind of services are we talking about here?
Yeah, Matt, that's a great question. So let me go back a step to come forward a step. My background is I was in, product development, innovation development, tech scouting. I worked for Masco Corporation, that's Delta Faucet. A lot of people know them through Marillac cabinets. But it was time to leave Masco, and I started something that looked like Techstars, 500 startups and Y Combinator. But in 2008, we got crushed. So we basically hunkered down on one technology. It was energy efficient lighting. No one had heard of LED lights. And we had the chance to see these technologies and potentially see which ones could, have a great success in the marketplace. Well, when we left that lighting company, I went to talk to the folks at Spark, a lot of the other people I knew, and I said, look, I think I have to leave my own company. It sounds goofy. And they're like, it's not goofy. Come to the next thing. And when I was explaining where I thought things were evolving from that 500 startups model, that accelerator model, they said, you got to talk to Mark Smith. He's having these same crazy ideas as you. And what we figured is if you're going to do early stage technologies, you need a place to work, you need capital, and amongst all things, you need people. And what happened is Mark took a model he had and created what we call MyHQ. That's the bricks and mortar, the place to work. Well, now we have 3 MyHQ campuses. 2 are ready to open this year, one in Ypsilanti, another here in Ann Arbor. But the inaugural campus has 80 different companies, and it's where you go when you're done with the incubator. It's not an accelerator. It's not an incubator. It's a real company. You could come in and we could customize wet lab space, but we provide this environment where turnkey, you're ready to go. So you walk in, there's a mail room, there's a lobby, there's conference rooms, all your utilities are taken care of. If you're a wet lab company, where can you come and start your company with a bench and then grow to 10,000 square foot facility? So while Mark was creating the MyHQ vision and the campus, Cantilever and I drove the national network of like-minded investors. And so now we have investments across the nation, but we're primarily focused in the Midwest. And this gives us that capital arm so that these early stage companies could get that first check. Cantilever does extremely well with vetting the companies, adding a level of sophistication for that early stage process where you could lead those rounds, but building this network now of life science angels, Keto, Keiretsu, Tech Coast Angels, folks out in Boston, MABA. So now we've got this network that we can syndicate with, but also understand what opportunities they have and how we could share diligence with one another. So fast forward, Cantilever now has 3 funds. One will invest in select MyHQ tenant companies and help them build out space, bring in people. The other is what we lead with, Cantilever Investors. It's where all the work is done. But for every dollar Cantilever Investors puts in, typically $15 follows. So we're a small micro fund, but we build that catalytic effect for people to come and invest alongside us because you need that in early stage. And yes, we're a traditional venture capital structure, but we're more of a bunch of operators who have companies with funds. So we're active investors, smart money. We like to roll up our sleeves and work with those founders, build a team around them. And, now we've got this, this network of people that when we need independent contractors in a certain area of expertise, we can bring them in on a fractional level, that virtual staff across the nation and the best in talent to help companies like PeptiNovo and Stabilux and other MyHQ tenants. So with that, we now have innovation campuses, we have capital, we have ways to bring in a network of talent across the nation. We're ready to take this and put a number of campuses across the Midwest and, get like-minded investors to come in and see these opportunities at the earliest stages.
Certainly, most companies will never reach the venture capital level because then you're in the millions of dollars. Most of the companies that I deal with or have worked with are very much in the angel kind of phase. They may make 250 to 500,000 to build out. For instance, I have a software as a service company, which I mentioned to you. And companies like mine need that early stage investment to prove out the idea. Is that part of what you do? I'm not asking for myself, just for other entrepreneurs like me.
No, Mike, it's exactly what we do. We like to come in where those angels would participate. And we like to come in, I like to call it the first check. Is that a seed round, a pre-seed round, a Series A? It's the first real investment into the company. We like to help the companies find their business model. No customer, no cash flow, no purpose. So we really look at not just the teams. Absolutely, you got to have a coachable team. It's got to be an investable team. But then the opportunity, it's got to solve a big problem. It's got to be something that has a fairly significant market size. And they got to show how they're going to have that business model where they can ultimately sell product to end users who love it because it solves big problems. So yeah, we'll come in at that early stage and help figure that out. We don't need a lot of home runs. We're in the Midwest. We don't have unicorns. We're not big and invest in hundreds of millions. We like a few 100,000 followed by a few million. And then ultimately, use that group of investors, that private equity mindset of bringing talent and helping the companies get to the next level.
So talk to us a little bit about a couple of companies I take it are your current clients. I see you listed them here as PeptiNovo Biopharma and Stabilux Biosciences.
Yeah, Matt, those are great examples. So again, go back to Cantilever Investors. We're operators who have companies and funds. And starting with PeptiNovo, PeptiNovo was a tenant at MyHQ. Ren had just exited his last company. He's a cardiovascular person. He worked at Park Davis and then Warner Lambert, and then Pfizer bought Park Davis. And then he followed Roger Newton in Aspirion One. If anyone remembers Roger and what happened there, Pfizer buys Aspirion One back. Now, he's back at Pfizer. Pfizer leaves Ann Arbor. As Ren jokes around, he got kicked to the curb. Well, a few of his colleagues came together and they started AlphaCore. And in a few years, they were able to sell AlphaCore to AstraZeneca. So here's Ren, all this time working in the cardiovascular space. But it bugged him because he realized he could take these cardiovascular particles, HDLs, the good cholesterol, and use them to cure cancer. So Mark Smith finds out and he says, Ren, just take a bench and play around. And Ren started a hobby and he put all his money in it. And 3 years goes by and Ren and I meet. And it's really cool what he's doing. And my job to Ren was either we're going to kill his hobby or we're going to make a company. And we couldn't kill the hobby. It just kept working. That was about 2017 and 18. We did form up the company, and that's where Cantilever comes in. And we like PeptiNovo so much that not only did we invest in it, not only did our best investors follow us, not only did we help, bring in more investment, but we said, look, we can help Ren in a big way. We'll help him with the company. And I liked it so much that I actually plugged myself into it. So I currently help run PeptiNovo and provide those things that Ren needs to get this to the next level. Fast forward, we have a team of experts across the nation as independent contractors for the production side, the testing side, the regulatory side, the business development. We now have 4 employees who are dedicated full time. We built out a customized wet lab space here at Ann Arbor at the MITechQ campus, and we've raised close to $7 million to date.
Huh.
And we're positioned to start human trials this, third quarter end of the summer. When this thing demonstrates what it can do in humans that we've seen in animal testing, imagine surviving cancer without sacrificing quality of life. We're seeing efficacy that's equal to, we're seeing efficacy that's better than the standard of care with virtually no adverse events. Because what Ren's done is he takes existing chemotherapeutics, makes them into this thing called a prodrug, and then he creates this HDL mimic, puts the drug inside of it, and now cancer cells are actively looking for HDL to fuel their growth. And like a Trojan horse, we trick it. It thinks it's getting the HDL it needs for growth, but instead it's getting the one that has the chemo drug. Chemo drug gets upregulated in the cell, and boom, now instead of the cell growing, we're giving it the cytotoxic agent to suppress, tumor growth. It can work on, 60, 70% of the chemotherapeutic drugs we can make into this particle. Every chemotherapeutic drug and every indication that it treats are candidates. We're looking at lung cancer, triple negative breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and pancreatic cancers. We'll have ideas of how the drug is being administered in that, sometime this time next year, 2025. This has huge potential. And no one's thinking this way. It's clear innovation. A cardiovascular guy who's now going into oncology and using cardiovascular science with the best of oncology to skin the cat a different way and treat cancer and improve, survival.
Thinking out of the box then, huh?
He's a brilliant guy. I hope he doesn't listen to this because,
Yeah.
no, Ren is very clever. The co-founder, Bill Elliott, provides the perfect complement. Ren's the cardiovascular person at Parke-Davis. He meets Bill. Bill's on the oncology side. Bill started his own companies in clinical labs. He worked for Carmanos. And so now Bill brings this oncology expertise of this is what you need to do to test drugs. This is how you run clinical trials. This is what's important for cancer in the cancer market. So we're bringing the best of Parke-Davis oncology with the best of Parke-Davis cardiovascular. And here comes PeptiNovo.
And this all works out at ICOR, with the facility, or at least the one here in Ann Arbor, and then the ones you're establishing around the country, right? Where you bring together sort of people that are in their little silos and get them out of their silos, right? Something like that.
You got it, Mike. Yeah, Ren is a tenant within the MITechQ Ann Arbor Innovation Campus. He's got a customized wet lab space. And because of the network of people, we've now found people from North Carolina that are helping on the production side. 3 of, Ann Arbor in Michigan still has a deep pool of talent, especially the west side of Michigan, for the biotech space, especially biotherapeutics. We have Stryker on medical device, but we had Upjohn, we had Pharmacia, we had Pfizer, we had a rich talent. And so now we've got 3 people locally here who are coming in on the toxology testing side and the regulatory side and the business development side. So yeah, we've got a tenant, MITechQ, PeptiNovo. We got a wet lab space, and now we got all these people from the network coming in and helping it.
All right.
Great way to preserve that.
We're running out of time. So how do folks reach out to you to get more plugged into what you're doing?
Yeah, the best is, email or LinkedIn. So, my LinkedIn profile is Steve Tokarz. The email is steve.tokarz, T as in Thomas, OKARZ, at Cantilever, B as in boy, P as in Paul.com. And yeah, we'd love to share more. We're always looking for like-minded individuals who want to plug in and help these companies, or join our investor group, or just co-invest alongside of us.